Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Just days ago, a hideous crime was allegedly committed in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Rockville, Maryland. A 14-year-old girl, a ninth grader at Rockville High School, reportedly was dragged into a bathroom and violently raped. Her two alleged assailants, Jose Montano and Henry Sanchez Millian, both arrived in this country just a few months ago. Sanchez is 18 years old and in this country illegally. But instead of being deported back to his country of origin, he was instead placed in the ninth grade and educated at taxpayer expense. This is insanity, of course. It's a sign of a sick civilization at war with itself. A strong country enforces its laws and protects its citizens. That's job one. In the U.S., too often we ignore our own laws and instead allow ruin to be visited on our own people. Well, some people in Rockville are fed up with all this. There was a meeting today at Rockville High School with protests outside by angry residents. We had a reporter there, and we'll tell you more about what happened in just a minute. Apparently, their outrage does not extend to Rockville's leaders, though. The town won't call itself a sanctuary city, but it is, in effect, one. It follows sanctuary policies, and top officials there don't want to think about the connection illegal immigration might have to this crime or others like it. Montgomery County School Superintendent Jack Smith, for instance, said this.
We're not going to paint all students who speak another language, all students of a skin color, all students of a religion, with a broad brush because of a really terrible incident. So I'm saying no tonight. We're going to take care of our students. We're going to take care of this student who experienced this trauma. But what we are not going to accept is people who say that 25,000 of our students shouldn't get to go to school because they speak another language.
In other words, diversity is our strength. Move along. You're racist. Shut up. Thanks, Jack. Well, thankfully, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan does not suffer from the same mental block. Here's what he said.
Where my biggest concern lies is with the Montgomery County school system and their lack of cooperation and the lack of information they've been providing. Not only have they refused to provide any information to us, but they've refused to provide it to the State Board of Education, who specifically requested more information.
Well, this came up at the White House briefing today, and Press Secretary Sean Spicer had this to say.
I think part of the reason that the president has made illegal immigration and crackdown such a big deal is because of tragedies like this.
Zeke Cohen is a Democrat on the city council of the city of Baltimore, a place that in effect has sanctuary city policies, and he joins us now. Zeke, thanks for coming on. So just yesterday, as it happens, you sponsored a resolution which passed on the Baltimore City Council, which demanded that federal immigration authorities stop enforcing federal immigration law in the city of Baltimore. Why, given what just happened, is that a wise idea? If these guys had been picked up in suburban Washington and Rockville, this never would have happened. So why would you encourage that policy in your city?
So, Tucker, I am incredibly proud to serve the citizens of Baltimore. Baltimore is a welcoming city, and the reason I introduced this resolution was not to tell ICE not to operate, but to only target violent criminals, such as the young people who allegedly perpetrated this crime. There is no place in our country for this sort of sexual violence. I condemn it full-heartedly, but the vast majority of immigrants in our community are peaceful, they pay taxes, and they contribute.
Okay, but we only knew that they were violent criminals after they had raped a ninth grader. The fact is that at least one of them, possibly both, but at least one was in violation of the law already, and because a lot of your state refuses to enforce federal immigration law, he was able to commit that rape. Wouldn't it have been better to get him out of that school and out of this country before he raped this girl?
So if he had committed a crime, it absolutely would have been better. But Tucker, let me say this. What concerns me, in addition to this type of crime, is also what I've seen ICE do in Southeast Baltimore, where I represent, where just recently a father was arrested after dropping off his son at school. He has no criminal history. His only history is violating his status and returning to this country. He escaped violence in Honduras, just the same way that my great-grandmother escaped violence and persecution in Austria. And we welcome him here. Immigrants built the fabric of this country, and Baltimore is a place that will continue to welcome them.
You know, it's pretty unbelievable that you would compare ICE, federal immigration authorities, to the Nazis, which you just in effect did, and you did explicitly yesterday, when they're enforcing laws that would have prevented this heinous crime? Would you say that to the parents of the girl who was raped? These are Nazis, these Americans who are enforcing immigration laws? Why would you say something like that?
So I extend my full sympathy to these parents. What they've been through is horrific, and to trot their crime out publicly is really kind of shameful, Tucker. And I think that the politics you're engaging in is this sort of Willie Horton-style race-baiting dog whistle where, we don't blame entire groups of people for the heinous acts of a few. For example, we're not after Dylan Roof murdered 9 people in a church in South Carolina. We don't say that all white people are terrorists.
Slow down. I'm not saying that all Hispanics are terrorists. I'm not saying anything like that. You're the one who explicitly compared federal immigration authorities to Nazis. Who's using the dog whistle here? Who's making demagogic statements? They're Nazis? You're calling fellow American citizens Nazis for enforcing federal law passed by Congress? Are you really an office holder? Why would you say something like that?
So what I'm doing, Tucker, is comparing the plight of my great-grandmother, who came here from Austria to escape Hitler's gas chambers, to the same fate as my Honduran neighbors, who've come here escaping violence from their country and just want to build a better life. We also had an ICE raid recently.
That's not what you're saying. In fact, let me read you a quote. This is from yesterday from the City paper in Baltimore. It said, Cohen likened the recent raids to what Nazi Germany did before the Holocaust. So you're, again, for the 5th time, you're accusing Americans, your fellow American citizens who are law enforcement officials, of behaving like Nazis. Don't you think that's a little over the top, speaking, again, of dog whistles?
Tucker, again, what I'm saying is that when the Statue of Liberty proclaims, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, that she is calling both to my great-grandmother as well as to my Honduran neighbors. I'm not comparing ICE to Nazis. What I'm doing is to say these are people who've been persecuted back in their home country, and if they want to come here and build a better life in Baltimore, we welcome them.
Okay. But you are, first of all, comparing them to Nazis. But the truth is, Baltimore has a lot of problems, It's got one of the highest crime rates in the United States. Some of those crimes are committed by people who are here illegally, illegal aliens, as you know. 3 years ago, one of them raped a 9-year-old girl right after you became a sanctuary city. Again, as you know, you've had something like 10 murders in the last week, and you're spending your time telling law enforcement not to enforce the law. How does that help the immigrants you claim to care for?
So, Tucker, here's the real story about Baltimore, is that we are a city rebuilding, and the resilience in my city is incredible. And just because people like you go on TV and bash us doesn't mean that Baltimore has to take it. I'm proud to represent my district.
I'm not bashing you. I'm reciting your crime statistics. Do you know what they are? Really? Do you have any sense of what the murder rate is? What's the murder rate in your city? Do you know?
So last year we had over 300 homicides. Each one is tragic. I completely agree with you. I was a teacher in West Baltimore before I became a city council person, and I will say that our school system is struggling, our law enforcement is struggling, but it is not the fault of immigrants. And in fact, Tucker, what we've faced for a very long time is depopulation. And the immigrant community, particularly the Central American community, which you continuously bash on your show, has actually come here and rebuilt.
I'm not continuously bashing the Central American community. By the way, that's completely false. My only concern is for the people who are already here. Does it make a school better when people move in who don't speak English? Is it good for the kids who are already in the school, do you think? Does it improve the education? Is it fair to the taxpayers? Have you thought about that?
I think the greatest asset in our city is our diversity, and I was joined by an amazing group of immigrant youth yesterday in passing this resolution.
Hold on, slow down. That doesn't mean anything. I asked you a sincere question. Does it improve a school when a lot of people move in who don't speak English? Does the school get better?
Absolutely. So if you're talking about a city that used to be 1 million people and is now down to 630,000, having folks come here and participate and pay taxes, sending their kids to our school is a blessing, and we welcome those children. And like I was saying, we had a great group come to City Hall yesterday to advocate for their community, to speak out against intolerance, and to help us pass this resolution. And that's why I'm so proud to represent my city on the city council.
It's so sad. I mean, maybe your city's depopulating because you had 316 murders last year because you don't take it seriously and you spend your time with frivolous nonsense like this, which doesn't make the city better. It's just sad. It's depressing to watch a formerly great city like that languish under leadership like yours. I'm sorry,
Tucker. It's only frivolous when it's not your family.
This is absurd. This is, you know what? It's sad, and you're not providing a serious answer, unfortunately. We sent a team to Rockville today. Fox's Griff Jenkins spoke with local police there, as well as outraged parents who just got out of a meeting with the school. Griff joins us now for his report. Griff.
Hey, Tucker, that's right. Just a few minutes ago, the school behind me, full packed, 700 plus of parents who left emotional. They said that things did not get too heated. They took their questions. We talked to some of them. We talked to two moms in particular, very upset about the events of last Thursday. One of them who actually subs here. You can see now a few students, a few protesters actually as well out here. It's quite a scene, but here's the moms we talked to earlier today. Take a look.
What is the next step to make our kids safe? I have another daughter coming next year here, so I'm going to have two, and I would like that place to be safe for our kids and for other kids. I have too many kids there that I know that they're friends to my kids, and I don't want anybody to have to deal with that.
Do you have any doubts about sending your next daughter here in light of this?
Fair, yes. Not about doubt. I know the school they're going to do everything, but it's just, I'm a little shaky for right now. Is the law that govern that immigration that put a kid illegally in a school. That is more my concern than anything else.
I just don't want 18-year-olds and 14-year-olds mingling. I don't really want my child in with a criminal that is, that just walked across our border. The one young man was had already been convicted of a crime, and they had wanted to deport him, and so I don't want my son involved with him.
That meeting was led by School Superintendent Jack Smith, as well as the principal here, Dr. Benson, and members of law enforcement. We spoke earlier today to the police chief of Montgomery County, Thomas Manger, to find out what happens now with those two individuals, Jose Montano and Henry Sanchez. Here's what he had to say.
If they are found guilty, our intent would be to have them serve whatever time they were given by the judge. On the day that they're released, whether it's 20 days, 20 months, 20 years, whatever they get in terms of a sentence. On the day that they're released, if ICE has a detainer or a warrant waiting for them, we will turn them right over to ICE for ICE to do with them what they have the responsibility for.
So, Tucker, aside from striking a real nerve with every parent in this country, like yourself and myself who have daughters, it's also raised a national debate now about areas like this and whether or not sanctuary cities exist or not, and if they're enforced or not. We will stay on top of this for you. Tucker?
Thanks.